So before we break down the actual guitar parts, let's take a look at the chord progression that I'm using. So for this song, we're starting off with a C sharp minor, to an A, to a G sharp minor. And instead of playing them as basic minor and major chords, I'm making them a minor 7 and a major 7. So you might be asking yourself, well, what is that? Well, if you take a triad, which is the root, the third, and the fifth, which is your basic flavor of a chord, either minor or major, and you add a fourth note to it, which is the 7th degree of that chord, you're going to get a minor 7 or a major 7. And how would you find that? Well, when we look here at the C sharp minor, I need to go back one whole step for this. So to do that, I'm just going to lift up my pinky, which is playing the root, the C sharp, and open and expose what's underneath my first finger, which is the B. And that's my 7th now. It just adds a little bit of a jazzier quality to the chords. For a major 7, I kind of do the same exercise where I take my root, but I go down a half step. And now I have a G sharp for that. And so that shape looks a little bit different like this. So here's major to major 7. Major, major 7. And for the G sharp minor, the same exercise applies. I need to get an F sharp, which is going to be underneath my first finger. So I'm going to lift up my pinky, which is playing the G sharp, to expose the F sharp minor. So here it is regular, which is the normal triads. And now here's with the minor 7 and the major 7. It makes it a little bit more of a moodier type of music. And then the next part of the song, we're basically going to be coming up to an A major again, to the B major, and then we're going to go into the kind of the bridge section, which is basically the E. And you'll notice instead of doing the bar shape, I'm actually exposing the open strings on the top. And then I'm going to go to a B, to an A, B, and back up to the E. And I'll go ahead when I break down those guitar parts for you, explain that a little bit more. So what you might have noticed that's interesting about this song is that we're kind of in the minor sound for the first part, and then it goes into more of a happier sound. And that's a little bit of a songwriting technique that you can use, where you're actually playing the minor, and then you're going to go to the relative major of that key to brighten things up, and then you can go back to the minor sound. And that's a very effective songwriting technique. So how you would find that is if you play your major chord, which in this case is E, if I go down to the 6th scale degree, that's the relative minor. So we already know what the 7th was. If we go down one more, we're exposing the minor. So basically here's a root, E, down a half step, down one more, so it's 8, 7, 6. If you make that a minor chord, that's your relative minor to the major. So let's go ahead now and break down each guitar part. The first one I kind of already showed you by describing the chords, but there's a little bit of a nuance, something that's different. Basically, I'm playing all with my fingers, no pick, and I'm hitting the root note first, and then I'm going to pluck up. And the second time around, I do a little bit of an embellishment where I'm going to hammer on this E. So it sounds like this. And we just repeat that. Now we're going to go up to the A. And we're just going to hold that out for a little bit. And then repeat the same thing again. setting ourselves up for the bridge section or the chorus section. I'm not really sure what to call it. But we're playing basically that E shape with the open strings on top. And I'm doing a little bit of a finger picking pattern. So I'm going thumb, first finger, middle finger, back to the first finger, and then the third finger, second finger, first finger. And then back up to the second finger, yes. So I'll slow that down. And then I'm going to go to the B chord. And I'm still leaving that B open on the top. And the same picking pattern goes. Picking pattern. Woo! Picking pattern. Down to the A, same thing. And I'm keeping that B on top. Same picking pattern. Back up to the B. And then back to the beginning. So the whole part will go like this. And then to end the song off, we're basically going to do that same climb that we did before and end on the E. And we just let that ring out. And you probably noticed on the sound, I added a tremolo sound. So you can hear the volumes going up and down. It's really nice, especially when you're holding out notes like this, because it's giving a little bit of a rhythmic pulse, and you really don't have to do a lot of work and let the pedal do all the work for you. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the third part of the song, which is basically a little bit of a bubble part. And a bubble part generally is like a single note line that kind of just is a little bit of ear candy for the listener to latch onto. In this case here, we're going to play off of the G sharp, the F sharp, and the B note. We're going to make a little bit of like a syncopated funk type of thing. And you'll notice I'm not using a pick again, using my fingers, and I'm really muting, dampening down with my fleshy part of my back palm onto these strings. And you'll also notice I'm doing a little bit of a funk or blues type of thing for that B note. I'm bending it slightly. Just to give it a little bit of an attitude. So it's always nice when you're thinking about your arranging and your guitar parts, try to introduce something new to the listener, maybe a bubble part or something else, over a section of the song that you've already played before. So the lead guitar first starts off with a set of double stops, played up high. Kind of ending on basically the C sharp minor sound, where you have the C sharp and the G sharp, which is the root and the fifth of those chords. So double stop, all that really is when you play two notes together. Then the lead guitar is going to go into the melody of the song, and it's going to introduce some motifs. And a motif is just a musical idea that you kind of play and you repeat, and you can embellish on it as well. And this all starts off with our good old friend, the minor pentatonic scale, box 1, everyone's favorite box. And you'll notice for this lead part, again, I'm not using a pick because I'm adding a little bit of a softer quality to my playing. So we're going to start off with this little motif. And all we're doing is walking up that minor pentatonic scale. And I'm doing the same thing that I did for the bubble part, where I'm tweaking that note. And that's a common blues move, right? Because that's our flat 3. So I'm just going to go up. I did there is I went into box 2 and came back down to land on that E. So that part goes like this again. And now we're going to break out of the minor pentatonic and use the minor scale. So we're basically playing just right out of the scale. And that sets us up for the chorus of the song, or the bridge, or whatever you want to call it, where we're going to come back down now. Now we're in E major, the relative major. So we're going to play more of an E major scale. And you'll notice now I have a new motif, something new that I'm developing for the listener. And when I'm doing there, those end notes, those are target notes because the chords are changing underneath it. Because remember, we start off with the E, then we go to the B, then we go to the A, and then back to the B. So for the first part, over the E, the chord's going to change to a B here. So I'm going to add the B as the ending note for that. That's my target note. And now, the next chord that comes up is the A. And so I'm going to play the C sharp, which is the third of that chord. So these motifs are ending on strong notes, strong target tones that are basically following the chords that are underneath them. So it's always very important to listen to the chords that are happening underneath you and try to find those and target those notes to land on stronger melody lines for the listener to listen to. I do a little bit of a double stop idea there. And I'm ending on an F sharp. Well, why would I do that? Well, the chord that we're ending on is the B. So that's the fifth of that chord. So let me play that section for you again. And then to end this lead part or the melody part off, I come back to that double stop idea. And then I bring back the first motif. But we end it a little bit differently because the chords are changing underneath it, and we're ending on the E. So there's a lot of great takeaways from this simple song. The first one being from a songwriting standpoint. If you're writing in a minor key, try to put another section of the song in the relative major. This adds a little bit of a lift to the music. Another thing to do is, instead of just playing your normal minor and major chords, try to jazz things up a little bit with a minor 7 or a major 7 chord. Add a little bit of a bubble part to make things interesting if you're repeating sections. And always try to develop a musical motif to keep the listener engaged in the song. So as always, I left in the description down below the ability for you to download these tracks for free to practice to. There's actually 2 tracks. The first one is the full band, and the second one is just the drums and the bass. So you can either learn these guitar parts, or you can make up your own on top of that bed.